Yeah, so for me, L&D Cares for me is really around that aspect, is that oftentimes, particularly when people are looking to make a career transition or really kind of trying to understand what they can do, they get stuck about around the things that they cannot do. And so my whole kind of heart behind why I'm leading the L&D Cares career growth stream is around how can I help build confidence while building competence? Because oftentimes I believe people forget that they have a learning muscle, and learning happens in the wobble. And when you have that support, and when you have that brave space of others around you supporting you, giving you that grace to go in and fumble, and you'll have that support system around you, then you see the magic in people's eyes as they discover and go away from making choices out of fear or safety, security, to then that piece of what is my own potential? What am I interested in? What am I passionate about? How do I find my magic sauce? That's where I think this aspect of humans in the future of work is very human. Like you said, AI is not going to have a purpose. The beauty of connected thinking, the beauty of the future of work is social and how people connect and interplay. That's where innovation is going to come from. But it will only happen if people feel like, okay, I can do this. So that's why we have to start, in my opinion, with the individual around saying, what are you passionate about? What are you curious about? What are you interested in? And so that's what we do as part of the L&D Cares, really around the growth stream. We give people projects, we get them involved in creating summits, welcoming into the awesome in terms of first-time speakers, et cetera, so that they can really get that, they can get the opportunity, which oftentimes wasn't available to them. You know, for example, the speaker circuit is very closed. It's very hard to get on. And if you are somewhere in your career and you don't have that, you don't have those proponents screaming out your name and tweeting it, it's very hard to break into these spaces. And so fostering opportunity, because we are a volunteer organization where we have a platform, we have different opportunities for different people to shine and grow, that they can use then for their own portfolio. So they can send this to potential employers, to groups that they want to be involved in as examples of their work. But it's really about the process that they go through in kind of discovering their own potential and surprising themselves with that beauty.
Wonderful.
Yeah.
That's great, because the speaker circuit is really looking for people that are very good at speaking. And how do you get good at speaking if you never get a chance to speak?
Yes, exactly.
Great.
It's the same old adage of how do you get, when we were all looking for our first job, of how do you get experience if you're never allowed to get experience?
Yeah.
Yeah.
No, see, and I'm going to highlight something for you in this moment as I'm writing this and taking notes and listening to you is I didn't read cover to cover the whole brochure, but I'm not sure you said that anywhere on that brochure, not with the passion that you just shared with me. And I think you need to write from your heart a bit more. It's very, here's our schedule. It's very bullet pointy, and I want people to want to come. You've told me that you want to enable their growth and help them find their potential and their passion. Tell everybody that wants to come to this that, because that's a beautiful thing to say, and it's a beautiful goal to have. And no, that's wonderful.
Good. Why the Empowerment League? For me, when I heard particularly the numbers of like December around how many women, and particularly women of color, left the workforce, it shocked me. And what shocked me more is how little conversation there was around it. It was just like, okay, we're taking it in. This is just what has happened. Women are taking on a disproportionate weight. They are, they're the ones who are going to be responsible for the schooling. And here, sorry, but it was really done as if it was an individual based bias that, here women sorry, it sucks for you, rather than saying we're consciously undervaluing, discouraging, and frustrating people that we've tried to raise up for at least 100 years, and it with at least the past 40 years concentratedly, and to say, okay, what do we need to do as an empowerment league to understand that it is not just a one-off, that there is importance of looking at what is the systemic sides to these. You taking on the responsibility for your family, it's not just you, there's a collective here. So what is our socialization? What is our responsibility to not only understand it, but say, okay, what are the things that we can do to proactively counteract that? So, because work is not just, in my opinion, it's not just something that you do to get a paycheck, and it's not something you suffer through. For me, you choose your work that is also enriching to you. And that's one of the beauties of finding your passion, finding your magic sauce, finding your wealth or beauty outside of perhaps those traditional roles that you still have, and you can still take, and you still do take a huge amount of pride in, but this aspect that you have to give up, rather than saying, how can we help, and what are the support systems that we can build up, so that it isn't an either or choice, but that it's a healthy choice. And that here the aspects of how are we looking at our potential, how are we looking at the support and social structures needed for making those choices, so that we are able to understand how, yes, we are viable contributors. We are able to get our strength and our growth and our potential and our fun out of being contributing members. And then that other aspect of understanding our vulnerability of this challenge is there's a lot of expectation management that is placed upon women, oftentimes to their own detriment, because it comes from them in our cultural socialization and the small kind of micro expectations. So how do you, on the one hand, understand that? How do you, on the other hand, look to say, what can we do so that these microaggressions are addressed? And so really that opportunity to thrive and flourish is really given. And so for me, the aspect of the Empowerment League is looking at it, okay, I see you. So the garbage pail moms of L&D. So this aspect of, owning a bad hashtag as a sense of pride, of saying, yeah, I'm not meeting that insane expectation, but I have value and worth. And then looking at it as to say, okay, and what's that burning platform around it? What have we given lip speak to, particularly around women of color, and how they have been disenfranchised and really put in a much more challenging situation? What can we do to show allyship and really understand how, if we lift one group up, we lift other groups up? Then going in and looking at, the facilitation of playing big, doing a riff off of that, the glass ceiling and the glass cliff, around how are we setting up a couple of our wonderful female leaders also for unsuccessful endeavors, as being kind of the, here you go, here's our offering at the sacrifice of public opinion. And what that does to derail careers, but also to derail one's own confidence and abilities, where the women have to rediscover themselves and find their worth outside of what they've been branded as, kind of the Hester Prynne's, to then say, okay, and then what's our, and then bringing it back from kind of the larger scale and understanding those socializations to say, okay, and then what can I do? So what is my commitment statement? Like you're going to be talking to say, okay, it doesn't always have to be huge, but it has to be significant. So what is it in terms of a meaningful contribution that you can see, because this is also when we're contributing, we don't feel so helpless. So this is big or small, what is that contribution, and how are we creating a space where we can collaborate these contributions, where we can create an aspirational tribe of awesome women working together and experimenting and trying things out and being that support system to one another.
Yeah. Within the L&D side of it, though, so these are people that are individuals working, where our audience is going to be people that are attracted to the L&D Cares side of it. Certainly that's, but are we looking at anything within that to there? Because there are some people that have some leverage.
Absolutely.
You know, and are we looking to also, you know, make the challenge that, you know, within your own L&D initiatives, you know, what are you doing about these things? What can you take away from this? So are we looking to make change just on an individual basis, or are we looking to have a bigger impact? How
Excellent.
would you
Yeah.
explain that?
So for me, it always goes individual, team, organization, society. Because for me, that aspect of change always starts with you. And understanding what's your own kind of personal shift, what's your own kind of personal approach towards, it's one thing to acknowledge habits, and it's another thing to adopt new habits. But then again, you know, like we were talking about, it's not just on an individual level, it's within the cross mix of we together have a much more significant power and impact to raise our voices, so that they will be heard, you know, because one of the things that I like to talk about are what are some of the unspoken themes in D&I. And this for me is one of them, of how do you, it's not collective bargaining. It really isn't. It's collective strength and understanding what is your own voice, what is your own opinion, what are your own values and principles and how they play out, and having the exploratory ground to really understand that is so important, rather than just kind of, you know, flowing through and just liking something and saying, okay, we're wearing purple today, without saying, okay, what does this mean to me personally, Ingrid, me personally, Elizabeth? And that's why for me, it has to be personal. But then the beauty of the Empowerment League as a broader group is we are all in our various networks. We're in all of our aspirational tribes. And the aspects of how are we showcasing voices, and highlighting research, highlighting the different practices that we have to create opportunity to welcome others into the awesome. That's one of the beautiful things, I think, about having a group of people coming together.
Yeah.
Because this is one of, and I really appreciate this question, because, you know, one thing that I got, you know, we have a lot of discussions around, recruiters, why don't recruiters be better at, you know, creating, you know, job descriptions, and recruiters, they ghost us. And I come back to, if we are L&D and talent, and we have people complaining about their toxic workplace around, you know, their toxic leaders, that's L&D leaders. Those are talent leaders. If a group should know better how to do that, you would think that it would be from our own function. So saying, okay, how do we address the elephants in the room? That is our own leadership stories and what we're exposing people to. How can we create better? How can we create better opportunities for seeing your own self-worth in the workplace, and also giving that empowerment to others that you're working together with. I like to say it's like a scavenger hunt. Everyone has, you know, everyone brings in their own, you know, associative thinking, their background, et cetera, and you make something beautiful together. That's why I talk about co-creation, is because you combine things in new ways that you couldn't do before, because you didn't have access, or those opinions weren't being shared. And so that's why for me, it's, this is our circle of influence. This is our circle of need. How can we be creative with the skills and expertise and the curiosity that we bring to the table, to really co-create a better path for people's development, where they feel like, okay, I can have impact, I can grow, and these relationships, they really are inspiring to me, and I see my own potential growing when I'm in these spaces.
Yeah. So a collective opportunity for even like reframing. And then if we take
Yeah.
that back, even if it's just, I've changed my mind of this little thing, and then you, without even realizing it, maybe even take it back into your work, how does that ripple then go on through the organization? Because and I like that it's an opportunity for people to come to their own conclusions and start to rethink without being told. I mean, nobody wants to be sat down and told, here's why L&D Cares sucks. People are bad at the job and you need to do these 7 things better. We wouldn't have initiatives if you guys had bothered doing this correctly in the first place. And that's not going to help anybody. So no, I like how you're framing this and the answers to these questions. So I think I have stuff that I can write to try and really, we're trying to do that more in what we're doing as well, is to make it,
I love it,
very human. The passion really has to come through. What is it we're trying to do? This opportunity to really spread some change and invite them to be a part of that. I would love for them to do that.
that would be amazing.
Hopefully get a great talk.
Yeah.
Okay.
Well, I love it, Ingrid. So, so now I'm going to ask you the same question, since this is just a spontaneous interview that might find its way up to YouTube. So, you are amazing also in your work together with the UN, and you really, when we were talking just those initial ideas around the Empowerment League, you were really one of our like galleon figures of like, okay, how can we get Ingrid involved? And so what's your story? What's your passion behind it? Why, for you, this is where you're saying, okay, this is where I want my wings growing.
Yeah. And it's a story I'll tell the beginnings of as part of what I want to share is that whole idea of, being a child in the 60s and literally watching on the news women burning their bras. It did not go as well as they had expected, because fabric doesn't burn with the kind of
the smells.
Looking for. It was a lot of smoldering, smoky, but the message was delivered, and I thought, yes, I'm gonna have a level playing field. And then to have a daughter and literally think that what's within my power, what's within my control, is to tell her every single day, not only was she beautiful, but she was brilliant. I don't buy into that whole mom thing where you can't ever tell your daughter you're beautiful. I think every woman should be told they're beautiful every day.
I agree.
I know. I can be a beautiful person even when I'm having a very, very bad hair day and age spots and all the rest of it. So tell me I'm beautiful, tell me I'm brilliant. And I did that with her, and she listened, and she has her PhD in quantum astroparticle physics in a man's field, where she still doesn't have a level playing field, and where she works for men who the hours she's asked to work because they don't plan well or don't even value her as a human being, to the point where they don't just say, oh, on a Friday, we need you in San Diego on a Tuesday to give this presentation, and it's okay if you just work round the clock and get maybe 2 to 3 hours of sleep a night on Saturday, Sunday, and Monday to make this presentation Tuesday morning, because we've decided it's you for all of this shit reasons. Plan. We don't respect you. We don't respect your time. We don't respect your contribution. And we know that you feel so lucky to be in this room that we can pull that crap on you, and we know you'll say yes. You'll say yes. You don't even have to ask your permission. We can just treat you like that. And that conversation has to change. It just is. And making that change. And I love what I do with the UN. I do sometimes think you think I have a bigger position there than I do. And I'm just literally a volunteer delegate. And that is just, I show up and I listen and I report back as needed.
because they can't be in every session. So they need eyes and ears, because especially now that it's gone virtual, there were thousands of sessions, not hundreds, well, maybe thousands is too much, hundreds of sessions on the last one. And there's no way anyone can send, every single time slot I was looking at that I could attend, I was trying to pick, which one do I want to listen in on, and what do I want to choose, and what do I want to focus on, and what's important to hear. And it was, and I like this idea of what we're doing, because for me, that's always been something that was really important to me on an individual basis. Then that grew within my family. I'm a mother of a daughter, and I wanted to do things there. And then we started our own company, and I thought, well, I have a little bit more power. I can do things here. And now it's like, okay, I have a little bit of power. I have a voice. I have a little bit of a bigger platform. What more can I do? And so showing up and listening. And as I was listening and letting that form opinions and give me input and data and things to consider, and trying to listen with a really open mind when people say things like, burn down the establishment, and my brain's just going, what? Hang on. That infrastructure, but and then to say, but tell me why you feel that way. And just hearing what they're saying in that message, where they say, here's a system you didn't build. We're not going to give you the designs, the schematics. We're not going to give you the tools we used to build it, but we're going to look at you and say, fix it.
You
want it fix it. And we didn't build it, and we didn't design it. Or, we know the system made you sick, heal it. But your system made us really, really sick, and you're looking to us to fix it. And how that makes women feel when we're just so tired of being told, like you said, by governments universally, you will do this. You'll have to step up. And we're not going to ask your permission, because we know you. That you're going to put your family first, and you're going to sacrifice, and you're not going to wash your hair for a week because you don't even know when you're going to find 5 minutes to get in the shower. And we're just going to make you believe that this is all real. And that you have to do it. And we don't even have to ask your permission. We just know that you'll rise to that occasion, because you're trying still to prove that you can do it. Something very recently, and they said, we need to all band together as women and have the courage to say, see this list, this thing that you've given me for your expectations of what this position can accomplish and do. This was written for a man who had a wife, who made sure that the kids got to the doctor, who prepared all the meals, who washed and ironed his clothes, who kept his house, who balanced the checkbook, and did everything else so he could do this. So asking me to do this is just wrong and inexcusable. And that was an eye-opening thing, because I always thought, if I could just do all that. And we got to stop doing that to women. We really do.
Well, we have to stop doing that to women in terms of not giving the infrastructure support. That it is also, it's just on you. It's not the infrastructure. And you and I living in Europe, we also know that there are different options available for supporting women in the workplace. And I think, if we look to what it was even around in the 70s in terms of affordable childcare, but also, to be honest, the expectations on mothers nowadays is insane around being that perfect. You have the crafts, your Pinterest, your all of those different should do's rather than what you need to do. And understanding, what's your story, what's your style, how do you want to work, what is, in terms of how you're bringing it, because I think that's one of we were having a discussion around, I loved hiring moms. I loved hiring moms because they are the most organized. They are able to prioritize. They are able to communicate extremely well. And it's that aspect of what's your perspective on these different things of, do you have to justify having a life outside of work, or is it expected that that's going to help give you the foundation for flourishing in the various spheres in which you're working?
Yeah, and the infrastructure comment is a really, really valid one. It reminds me of when we went to England for John to do his MBA. I stopped what I was doing and I took a year off. He was doing his MBA. I figured he was going to try and do your MBA in 1 year's time. Somebody needed to hold the fort down. And so we put Elizabeth into this wonderful school. And about 3 weeks in, I called for a meeting with the headmistress, and I just said, look, she's not coming home with any homework.
Yeah.
Well, we're paying a lot of money. What's going on here? And she just looked at me. She's like, what do you mean? And I was just like, well, one of the things I was expecting to do this year because of the level of homework that I was, required to assist my child with in the States was such that okay, this is going to be something I'm going to have to dedicate time to. And she said, if your child can't get educated by us between the hours of 9 and 4, we're not doing our job. You should never have homework, and neither should she. And I thought, oh my God, you're right.
Yeah.
And again, so there was this assumption in this American society, not, while I'm driving her to her Island dance class, her spelling words are on my steering wheel.
Yeah.
Doing 7 things at the same time. That we should have a society where you send your kid to school and they do their shit at school and then they come home. And they have
mind blown.
They have time to then, do their extracurricular stuff, and they have for social
life outside of those things.
Spend time actually socializing and building friendships,
becoming an adult, a human
being. So so that's, and the more I learned, the more I said, and I can't just feel this way inside here. And so those ripples for me continue I want to push those out. So can I take, what I've learned as a volunteer delegate, and then just make sure that I show up at every subsequent thing, attend as many sessions as I can. What can I learn? What can I take away? And then how can I help spread that? How can I get that message into other people's, presence, and get them to think, or inspire them to think, what, I can make these little changes. I can do these things to start, hopefully a real revolution, because equality cannot wait another 130 years. I will not be here to see it.
I love it. Exactly. Oh my gosh. Ingrid, so well said. I completely appreciate it. And so, I think this aspect of the Empowerment League, why are we doing it? That's in a nutshell. So we look forward to seeing everybody at September 21st through the 23rd for the Career Growth Summit.
You really are going to publish this, aren't you?
Yep.